Whether a horror film is bad or good is really all in the eye of the beholder, given that everyone likes what they like and hates what they hate. However, for all intents and purposes, most of these films have low review scores and as well as low critic ratings. So we can fairly say they are bad horror films. That doesn't mean you shouldn't watch them, however, as especially in horror, even the worst films always have at least one or two scenes that just stands out. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 bad horror films with surprisingly great endings. Number 1, Houseu. 1977's Japanese film Houseu, or House, is interesting, as it's labeled as a comedy horror. Although comedy is subjective, it also varies from culture to culture. The film feels lighter than your standard horror fare of the time, and a lot of the filmic techniques used, like the iris and corny wipes or transitions, would have faded out or been considered throwback at the time, especially stateside. Houseu follows a schoolgirl named Gorgeous who plans to visit her wealthy aunt on vacation with her friends. Her widowed father recently introduced her to his new fiancé. Now, when it was released in Japan initially, the few critics that reviewed it panned it. Houseu was a hit nonetheless, and over the time has accumulated far better reviews. The film has a surreal and even romantic aesthetic, which does distinguish itself. Director Nobuhiko Abayashi's career began with experimental films, and that certainly is evident in Houseu. It's also surprisingly effective as it makes the narrative more engaging. Houseu has a bizarre, campy charm and a lot of energy. Not to mention a batshit finale where Auntie consumed all the young girls, causing them to get engulfed into the house, feeding Auntie's never-ending hunger. Now you can visit this house on Max or Prime. Number 2, Shrooms. I would like to preface this by saying I wanted to like this film really bad. Maybe the 2007 film Shrooms should have leaned into comedy, gotten a higher budget, or involved David Lynch somehow. I don't know. But the film is just a mess of cliche. Really, a less generic script would have been good. Shrooms was directed by Irish filmmaker Paddy Breathitt and was released in the UK in November of 2007. It would have been released stateside in February of 2008. Shrooms follows a group of college kids camping in the forests of Ireland. At the behest of their Irish friend Jake, they indulge on potent psilocybin mushrooms, aka the magic mushroom. They start tripping out while a killer is allegedly on the loose. Shrooms should have been much more surreal. It needed to be more fun as well as more horrifying. In Shrooms, Jake tells a story around the campfire about a maniac in the area. This puts that idea in their heads and the audience's. The main protagonist, Tara, starts seeing things first. Reality and hallucination conflate as the group dwindles. Does the end make up for a surprisingly lackluster outing? No, but it certainly raises Shroom's pedigree. Earlier on in the film, Tara had consumed the death bell mushroom, which is often confused with a magic mushroom, and started having seizures. In the final scenes, it is revealed that she went on such a bad trip, she's the one who murdered all her friends. And you can indulge on Shrooms on Fubu, Sling, Prime, Google Play, and Fandango. Number 3, April Fool's Day. The 1986 film April Fool's Day is arguably best known for its twist ending. Upon its release, it was met with mixed reviews, with a lot of criticism towards plot and character development. Hey, that's why it's on this list. At the time, there was even some divineness over its ending. April Fool's Day follows a wealthy college girl, Muffy, known for being a prankster. She groups a group of friends to her secluded island estate, and unbeknownst to them all that there's a mysterious assailant murdering everyone. April Fool's Day is one for a rewatch to see if it makes sense. The film was produced by Frank Mancuso Jr., who also produced Friday the 13th, Part 2 through 7. And kudos to him for stopping at Part 8, where Jason infamously takes Manhattan. The end of April Fool's Day reveals that the entire murder mystery was an elaborate prank played by Muffy. She involved a Hollywood gore effects artist and got people to play along with it as it progressed. Everyone has a laugh. Me personally, I would not have partaken. Maybe the film is a comment on how out of touch the wealthy really are. Regardless, April Fool's Day has a pretty good ending, and you can get fooled over on Fubo, Sling, Philo, Google Play, Fandango, and Prime. Number 4, Orphan. Spanish-American director Jaime Collet Serra helmed the 2009 horror hit Orphan that received mixed reviews upon its release, but has had lasting impact, largely due to its ending. Now, I wouldn't call the film straight up bad. Its undoing mostly is in its script. What lifts it from the doldrums of mediocrity is its cast, and of course, the ending. Orphan follows Kate and John Coleman, who after losing a child, decide to adopt a young girl, Esther, from a Russian orphanage. The problem is, she exhibits behaviors from strange to alarming. Kate is played by Academy Award nominated and Emmy-winning actress Vera Farmiga. She would go on to play the iconic role Lorraine Warren in The Conjuring, as well as Mrs. Bates in A&E's hit series Bates Motel. John is played by talented character actor Peter Skarsgård, who is most famous for his role in the AMC hit series The Killing. Their daughter Esther is played by Isabel Fuhrman. She was 12, originally playing the sociopathic child, and her performance packs a hell of a wallop. The slam dunk ending for Orphan reveals that Esther is a full-grown woman. Everything in the film made a little more sense with that reveal. It also completely subverts expectations, as most probably suspected the child's behavior was a result of the occult or demonic influence. Nope, just some full-grown lunatic. Orphan was actually inspired by a true story about a 34-year-old woman who impersonated an orphan and took over an entire family. She managed to convince a mother and her sister to chain up their children and starve them. So keep an eye on Orphan on Disney+, Google Play, and Prime. Number 5, Unfriended. Again, this is another one that's more than a stretch to call a bad film. But finding straight up bad horror films with solid endings proved more difficult than intended. 2014's Unfriended was a stellar take on the found footage film, and ahead of itself being a pre-COVID piece of media that revolves around a video group chat. Unfriended premiered at the Fantasia Film Festival on July 20th, 2014, before its theatrical release in April of 2015. The film sees a group of friends gathering to chat over FaceTime. A mysterious user by the name of Billy227 joins their chat, and they can't seem to get rid of them. The person whose perspective the viewer is placed in, Blair Lilly, discovers the user is a deceased friend, Laura Barnes, who committed suicide after being bullied. Laura had a video go viral of her passed out at a party in which she defecated on herself. That is where the brunt of her bullying happened. Sadly, with our immense online presence as well as having the assholes that populate comment sections, this decade-plus old film remains relevant. Everyone's dirty laundry is revealed and Unfriended in a fairly rousing fashion. Secrets are revealed, and we learn one by one that everyone was involved in the bullying and video of Laura Barnes. There's also the tension that if a character logs off, they die. The whole time, the audience is rooting for Blair, who is the only one who seems innocent in the matter. Until the final reveal, which is that it was Linda who was holding the camera and filmed Laura's embarrassing moment. So watch Unfriended on Sling, Philo, Prime, Fandango, and Google Play. Number 6, The Uninvited. The 2009 psychological horror film, The Uninvited, is a remake of the 2003 South Korean film, A Tale of Two Sisters. The Uninvited was produced by Walter F. Parks and Laurie MacDonald, who had also produced the horror phenomenon The Ring, as well as the Rear Window homage, Disturbia. This is how The Uninvited was promoted in its marketing campaign and on the DVDs. The film stars Emily Browning as Anna. Browning is best known for her starring as the young Violet Baudelaire in the silver screen adaptation of Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, and then later in Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch. The illustrious comedic actress Elizabeth Banks plays Anna's stepmother. Her older sister Alex is played by Ariel Kebbel, whom I'm most familiar with her from American Pie Bandcamp. Yeah, it sucks, but I own it, so shut up. Anyway, after Alex and Anna's mother passed in a house fire, Anna slit her wrist in an attempt to commit suicide. The Uninvited follows Anna, whose memory has been spotty since the incident after she's released from a mental hospital. As much as I like the performers, the ensemble was a miscast. The awkward dialogue and overall clunky narrative didn't help. Anna and Alex suspect that their stepmother may have killed their mother after Anna starts seeing the ghost of her mother. At the end of The Uninvited, we learn that Anna suffers from dissociative disorder, hallucinations, and schizophrenia. She has only been imagining her mother as well as her older sister, who also died in the fire, which Anna accidentally caused. I do like how it played out, and unlike the original, is not supernatural. So check out The Uninvited on Google Play, Prime, and Fandango. Number 7, Terrifier. Though Art the Clown had small beginnings, first appearing in the 2008 short film The Ninth Circle, from Terrifier mastermind himself, Damien Leone, he has risen through the ranks to become a horror icon, the caliber of Freddy, Jason, or Ghostface. And he's more brutal than all of them by a long shot. Art was the piece de resistance in the 2013 horror film anthology All Hallows Eve, also directed by Leone. Art was so popular, he got his own movie with 2016's The Terrifier, in which he made quite a bloody impression. While it's a stretch to call the film bad, it's also not that special for the most part. Damien Leone certainly hones a lot of his sensibilities throughout the series. The first Terrifier is rather thin on plot and character and cheap looking. Although since the setting is primarily this grotesque rundown apartment complex, some of that super low budget aesthetic gives the film a sick atmosphere. Regardless, the ending is absolute work chaotic art. After Art's grisly piece de resistance kill, if you know, you know. The showdown between him and would-be final girl Victoria, who is left for dead. When the police show up, Art shoots himself in the head. His final scene is him in the morgue waking up, slaughtering the medical examiner. The beginning featured an interview from a woman with a ravaged, deformed face. The Terrifier bookend reveals that was Victoria. And you can catch The Terrifier on Peacock, Tubi, Pluto, Plex, Zumo, Freevee, Fubu, Google Play, and Prime. Number 8, Would You Rather. 2012's Would You Rather would mark the directorial debut of David Guy Levy. Levy is the founder of Periscope Entertainment, which has produced a handful of films as well as comic books. Star Brittany Snow, who's best known for starring in the Pitch Perfect series, also has executive producer credits. She's really good in X. Would You Rather premiered at Screamfest on October 14th, 2012, before its US release in February of 2013. The film follows the protagonist, Iris, who's in dire need of extra money so she can help her brother with his leukemia treatment. Chalk this one up as a horror film motive that doesn't make sense in every first world country but the US, because literally everywhere else has universal health care. But I digress. Would You Rather sees Iris offered to play a game where she can win a substantial amount of money. For all those My Name is Earl fans, Eddie Steeples, who plays Darnell on the show, is in this film. Also, for Sasha Grey fans, she's also in this. The game in Would You Rather is, well, Would You Rather, except it's lethal. For those living under a rock, that's where you are presented with two things and have to pick which one you would rather do. The film is fairly standard, albeit well executed of this type. Think a more reserved Squid Games. Would You Rather is more generic than it is bad. The ending was a fantastic double whammy though. The last two survivors are Lucas and Iris. Both are characters you root for and demonstrated exceptional character. The last Would You Rather is for Iris. She can either shoot Lucas and she would earn all the winnings, or they could both be let go scot-free. I was admittedly anticipating a surprise, so I figured, wouldn't it be shocking if Iris shot Lucas? Well, she did. But the real kicker is when she comes back to visit her brother and finds he has died of the leukemia. It means all of her compromising and final horrific act was for naught. And you can stream Would You Rather on Shudder, Philo, AMC+, Sling, Google Play, and Prime. Number 9, Dead Silence. Post-Saw, pre-Insidious, James Wan's 2007 film Dead Silence had a lot going for it. It has some undoubtedly creepy moments and aesthetics thanks to James Wan's cinematic flair, but never really got itself off the ground, being that it is kind of a disjointed project. I'm earnestly doing this off the cuff, but here's the poem used in Dead Silence, as well as the hook to market the film. It goes, "Beware the stare of Mary Shaw. If you see her, do not scream, or she'll rip your tongue out at the seam." Okay, I missed the line about having no children, only dolls. Not bad though, right? What a premise. Too bad the film is largely generic and forgettable. Dead Silence follows Jamie Ashen as he tries to uncover the mystery of his wife's brutal death. The couple had received a package of a creepy ventriloquist dummy, think Slappy from Goosebumps on meth, from an unknown sender before his wife's untimely demise. Jamie is played by Ryan Quatten, Jason Stackhouse for the True Blood fans. Now Jamie returns to his hometown where the legend of Mary Shaw began and where dolls are seen as bad omen. He visits his estranged father and new stepmother while he's there. The end reveals that Jamie's great uncle had killed Mary Shaw and his father was also dead, just transformed into a human ventriloquist dummy, while Mary Shaw possessed his new stepmother. Kinda weird, but you can experience Dead Silence on Fandango and Prime. Number 10, Scream 2. Well, certainly not the worst in the franchise. We'll leave that up to a toss-up between Scream 6 and Scream 3. This film was a significant downgrade to the suspense and horror elements that were established in the first film, leaning much more heavily into comedy and parody territory. People who came to see another brutal rampage set loose by Ghostface were a bit disappointed from the lack of genuinely suspenseful moments or over-the-top kills. And of course, they killed off fan-favorite movie nerd Randy Meeks, and not even in a good way, but probably the most moronic way for someone like him to die. That being said, the ending reveal of the killers being the mother of Billy Loomis and Mickey, a guy she seduced into helping her, felt like an homage to classic slashers of old, like Friday the 13th and Psycho. Someone who seems pretty weak and normal and otherwise friendly, being behind these heinous murders. The whole misdirect with Cotton Weary was a pretty good red herring, as the film plays with the notion it's so dumb the audience won't see it coming. But then pull the rug out from under you and coming at you from the far left field. A very typical 90s film oozing that counterculture feel. It's a mediocre film at best, but worth checking out for that ending, which only gets upstaged later by the fourth film. And you can check it out on Hulu, Sling, Roku, Prime, Apple TV, Max, or Fandango. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any films off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. We're also now on Blue Sky. You can find us at studiosfat.bsky.social, which will also link below. If you're really enjoying our content and want to help support us, click that join button for exclusive content, rewards, and perks. Make sure to check out our very own merch store located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go towards our next film project, so we'd greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Jamie. Thanks again and take care.